Okay guys, let's take a look at Darksburg. It is an action RPG that is a little bit like a lot of other ones and a whole lot different than everything. What I mean by that is there are some variations about this game that make it quite a bit different than your standard ARPGs. It becomes more of a hack and slash than that. It's just not side-scrolling hack and slash. So in this game, you are fighting back what is essentially a zombie apocalypse, but your survivors are a little odd. You have a nun that totes around a giant cross and it just unleashes a holy blessing upon these, undead hordes. You have a beefy gentleman who's a cook and gives great healing. You have a werewolf, which that one is kind of confusing to me, but hey, it's there. And then you have a hunter, which of course makes sense. And lastly, a plague doctor. Now, that's just awesome. Now, the survivors in and of themselves are extremely unique, and I love the way that they did that in Darksburg, and it leaves room, of course, for more types of characters, which I hopefully we do see that in the future. Now, as for the game itself, the reason why it's a little bit different is instead of an open world ARPG like you would have like your Diablos, you in this case are dropped in dungeons. Like you select it, there are not a lot of game modes. That's something that they really need to change. It kind of dings my recommendation on this, but you have your dungeons that you're dropped in. You do not have any higher selection of game modes. This is a particular game in truth I would recommend getting if in fact you have a group of people to play with, or you can talk some of your friends into playing it with you. Otherwise it can be kind of stale after a little bit. Thankfully, the types of characters that you are given to play with are so unique in their own different ways that they do make the game feel fresh as you play it with other characters, even though you're essentially going through the same storyline over and over again. The replayability isn't that bad. It's not the greatest, but it's not terrible. Aside from the singular game mode that you were forced to choose, where you can have a max of, I believe, 4 people playing with you, one of the things I take the most offense to, not literal offense, but I find the most drawback to the game. I know I worded that awkwardly. I apologize, guys. It's been a long few weeks. Anyway, is the control setup. Now, you got your QWER, your core, that is easy. Your skills are there, and as you level up, which I'll touch on in a second, you can add perks to your skills. That's not the issue that I feel with it. If you're playing on keyboard and mouse, you can move with your left click and your right click, one or the other. However, your left click does not attack at all, so you could find yourself walking into enemies just in general. Your right click does attack, however, it doesn't always attack. So you can still be finding yourself auto walking into enemies instead of just attacking them. So you could hold down the button, hover an enemy, and it doesn't necessarily attack, you just walk towards them. And this creates an issue where you're putting yourself in danger for no reason. Now, that's something that you can kind of get around by repeatedly clicking instead of just holding down the mouse button. But it's not necessarily something that a lot of people are going to want to do, to be honest. If you can just hold down the button and just attack versus repetitiously clicking the button, it's a lot more smoother for the gameplay. That much I will say, but I'm sure that's something that they can patch out and will patch out. Again, the game is on sale now, so it's not super expensive. So that's not a high tier issue. It's just an issue that I found with the game. The biggest issue so far is honestly just the singular game mode and the lack of variety in the missions that you actually do. Now, I do want to touch on the actual skills. Of course, each particular survivor has a set of unique skills that are very, acquainted and accustomed to them. They are different and varied by the skills that they use, where you have support characters, damage characters, so on and so forth, tanks, yada yada yada. However, as you level up in this game, you can add perks to your skills. It's like a talent tree. The best thing I can compare it to, off the top of my head, is how you actually add perks to your skills in Heroes of the Storm, where you level up and you choose a talent and you go through that way. Now, this creates different builds for characters, and that's always good. You want to have a variety of characters that can have a variety of ways to be played, and this game does do that. Another unique thing that I thought was interesting with this game is your experience and how you level up. You have team experience, so as everyone is attacking and laying waste to this undead horde, your entire team is gaining what they call wisdom, and you can pick up things from the chest that boost wisdom gain, and so on and so forth, like little boons. You can get buffs as you go on, and there's another totem, or not a totem, I apologize. What it actually is like a well, and you drink from it essentially, and you gain the wisdom boost. But there are items that you can pick up through the chest via that way to gain things like that as well. Now, when you go to the next area in these dungeons, because you go from one to the next via a loading screen, nothing spectacular. You have a way to get there at the end of the stage, like a ferry, for example, or walking through a church, as another example. When you go to the next area, your level, your experience, your perks, all of that carries over. But it transitions into a little area where you can rest by a fire and gain 33% of your health back, and you can have a little shop. And you can also open your chest of curiosities to add more perks to your person. These are little tidbits and things that I do enjoy about the game. Overall, the game is aesthetically pleasing. It has a definitely grim, toony kind of look to it, like a grim, cartoony kind of look to it. So that's one of those niche things. You're either going to like it or you're not, but it's not a game that you go into and play and be like, I'm going to take this seriously, like you would Pillars of Exile, or Pillars of Eternity, Path of Exile, of course, Diablo again, Pagan Gods, things like that. Those are more serious and grounded games. You're not going to do that with this one. If it is something that you're interested in, definitely don't go into it thinking, okay, this is going to be one of those that I have to really invest my mental in. This is more of like an escape popcorn flick action movie kind of deal, but in a game status. But long story short, while it's on sale, I would recommend getting this game. Maybe you and a friend or you and a few friends get it and play it and have fun with it. As it is now, yes, it's worth it for the sale that it's on because it is on sale on Steam. But when it reverts back to its full price, I would say wait until they add more to the game. There's a lot that they could do to polish this and make it better, make it great, make it wonderful. Right now, it is a good, decent game, but it's not something that I would just jump out of my seat for, like, oh my god, Darksburg, let's get it. Well, anyway, guys, I hope that this was informative for you. I hope it helped you make a decision. I hope it's just something that you like seeing. Of course, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know in the comments if this is the type of content that you like. I will be doing these types of videos in between doing my Marvel Avengers builds and whatnot, because that takes more concentration and more time to actually build and dig deep, because I don't want to put out poor content in that regard when it's instructive, when it's guides. I really don't want to put out poor content at all. But have a great day, morning, noon, or night, whatever it is, wherever you are.